When a man starts falling in love, it doesn't happen in fireworks or grand declarations. It begins quietly, almost unnoticed, in moments he can't explain. It's not about how she looks, what she says, or any checklist he's ever made. It's about how he feels in her presence. That's the shift no one sees coming. One day, he's moving through life on autopilot, handling responsibilities, keeping his emotions guarded. Then she walks in, and something in him softens. Not in a weak way, but in a grounding, calming way. He starts to feel more like himself, like a version he forgot existed. And he doesn't fully understand why. It's not love at first sight. It's not even conscious attraction at first. It's more subtle than that. She doesn't come in and change his world with words. She simply makes the world feel different when she's in it. His thoughts slow down. His usual stress doesn't hit the same. The walls he's built from past disappointments don't rise as quickly. And he notices that he feels safe, but not because she promised safety. It's because her presence doesn't demand performance. She's not chasing him, and she's not asking him to chase her. She's just there, real and unfiltered, and it gives him space to breathe. This is where it begins. He's not in love yet, but something is shifting inside him. His heart, usually so guarded, starts to open without permission. It's not the result of efforts, it's the result of effect. That's the difference most people miss. She doesn't impress him. She affects him. She doesn't demand his attention. She attracts it effortlessly by being grounded in her own energy. And in that space, he begins to associate her with peace, not pressure. Calm, not chaos. And that's where the seed of love gets planted. Not in her beauty, not in what she offers, but in the internal response she creates within him. A response he can't explain, but finds himself wanting to return to Bayonne. That's when he starts looking forward to seeing her again without knowing why. That's when he starts missing her when she's not around, even if he won't admit it, because, deep down, he realizes he's not falling for an image. He's falling for a feeling, one he doesn't find anywhere else. And that's when everything slowly starts to change. As the emotional shift begins, something subtle but profound happens. He starts seeing the world through her lens. It's not about copying her or becoming someone he's not. It's about noticing how she experiences life differently, and how that difference begins to influence the way he sees things too. He watches how she moves through the world, how she slows down to appreciate small moments others overlook, the way she notices a stranger's smile, pauses to enjoy a sunset, or listens with real interest when someone talks. It leaves an impression on him. He doesn't realize it at first, but her energy makes him more present, more aware, more grounded. Where he used to rush, he now slows down. Where he used to brush things off, he starts paying attention. He finds himself watching her not in a surface-level way, but in a way that studies who she is when no one is looking. Her character becomes more attractive than her appearance. Her values begin to echo in his own mind, and it's not forced. He's not trying to impress her or win her over. He's genuinely intrigued by how she experiences life. This is when admiration begins to form. Not just admiration for her, but admiration for the life she reflects. Her strength in silence, her calm in chaos, her ability to be both soft and strong in the same moment. It makes him think, it makes him feel. And in that internal movement, his emotional walls start to shift. He no longer sees her as someone who simply fits into his life. He starts to imagine what life might look like with her beside him, not because he's desperate for love, but because he respects the way she loves. That's the beginning of depth. When a man starts seeing a woman not just as beautiful, but as someone whose perspective inspires him to evolve. That's not surface-level attraction. That's emotional resonance. And once that hits, he's not just falling for her, he's falling into a new version of himself. When a man starts falling for someone, his first instinct isn't always surrender, it's control. He doesn't dive in head first. He hesitates. Not because he doesn't feel something, but because he feels too much, too fast, and that scares him. So he analyzes every interaction. He questions his emotions. He tests the waters by pulling back, by distracting himself. Sometimes even by talking to other women just to prove he's still in control. But those distractions feel empty, hollow. They don't carry the same depth. And slowly he starts to see the difference. The deeper his feelings grow, the more he realizes that control no longer brings peace, it brings confusion. He doesn't want to play anymore. He doesn't want to guess or pretend. What he really wants now is clarity. Is this real? Can I trust this? Can I trust her? Can I trust myself? And that's the shift most people don't see happening inside him. He's not afraid of love, he's afraid of getting it wrong. But clarity begins replacing fear the moment he realizes that real connection doesn't need to be managed or manipulated. It needs to be understood. This is where emotional maturity starts to show. He begins to ask deeper questions. He pays more attention. He wants to know who she really is, not just how she makes him feel. He starts showing up with more honesty, more presence, and the need to control. It fades, not because he gave up, but because he found something worth surrendering to. Love, for a man, becomes real not when he takes over, but when he lets go. When he stops needing to have all the answers, and simply decides to show up for the questions. That's when everything starts to feel honest, and that's when love truly begins. when a man truly begins to fall, something shifts in the way he listens. It's no longer just about hearing her voice, it's about understanding what lives beneath her words. He starts picking up on the things she avoids, the slight changes in her tone when she talks about something that matters, or the silence she hides behind her smile. It's not that he becomes a mind reader, it's that he becomes present in a way he wasn't before. Love sharpens his focus. He no longer listens to respond, he listens to feel. He begins to notice the things that light her up, the topics that make her eyes widen, the people that bring her peace, the dreams she keeps, tucked quietly in the corners of her sentences, and just as clearly, he notices what makes her shut down, what scares her, what she's still healing from. He listens for those things not because he wants to fix her, but because he genuinely wants to know her. That's the shift. It's no longer about impressing her, it's about connecting with her. And that connection, once it deepens, becomes the emotional bridge. It's not grand romantic gestures that create intimacy, it's the quiet consistency of someone who's actually paying attention. And when a man starts listening with empathy, not ego, he gives her something rare, the feeling of being emotionally seen. That's when his heart begins to truly open. Because through listening, he discovers not only who she is, but who he wants to become in order to love her right. And that's where real love takes root. Not in declarations, but in presence. In the space where she doesn't have to explain herself, because he's already listening in the way that matters most, with depth, with heart, and without distraction. Every man carries patterns, habits built from past hurt, self-protection, pride, fear of vulnerability. He may have learned to pull away when emotions get too real, to shut down when things start to feel serious, or to convince himself that he's better off alone than risking being hurt again. These aren't conscious choices, they're defense mechanisms he built over time. But when he starts falling in love for real, those old patterns get tested. Not by force, but by the quiet pull of something that feels different. He starts asking himself questions he never asked before. Why do I back away when I care? Why do I feel unsafe when someone sees through me? Why do I push away what I actually want? These internal questions mark the beginning of something deeper. Because real love doesn't just make a man feel, it makes him reflect. It brings him face to face with the parts of himself he usually avoids. And suddenly, staying distant doesn't feel strong, it feels lonely. This is the turning point. He begins to realize that falling in love isn't just about hurts, about who he's willing to become to love her well. It's no longer about managing emotions or maintaining control. It's about growth. It's about healing. She's not asking him to change, but something about being close to her makes him want to become better, not just for her, but for himself. That's when the love deepens. When a man isn't just loving from habit, but from choice, from awareness, from a willingness to unlearn his emotional defenses and replace them with presence, patience, and truth. And that kind of love, the kind that transforms him from the inside, is the kind he'll never forget. Because it's not just about feeling safe with her, it's about becoming safe for her.